My sister was diagnosed with leukemia during a health checkup at the hospital, and it turned out that my bone marrow was a perfect match for her. Driven by curiosity, I told my family that I was the one who was sick. Their unanimous response was opposition. Donating bone marrow is risky. We can't let your sister take that risk. Don't drag your sister down with you just because you're sick. Life and death are predestined. You must accept your fate. My sister, who was trying to conceive, flatly refused me. The already fragile bond of family was completely torn apart by their reactions. I had an epiphany, left the test results behind, and walked away from home for good. When I received the news that I was a match, I had just found out I was pregnant. My mentor called me aside with a solemn expression, saying that if I wanted to donate bone marrow to my sister Winnie, I would likely have to terminate the pregnancy. He advised me to think it over carefully and to discuss it thoroughly with my husband. I was indeed hesitant. I had taken many traditional medicines and tried for a long time to have this child. When my husband found out I was pregnant, he was so excited he wanted to tell the whole world he was going to be a father. The thought of terminating the pregnancy was unbearable. However, Winnie was only 29, and unlike me, she had always been the apple of our parents' eye. If anything happened to her, our parents would be devastated. After agonizing all afternoon, I decided to visit home after work. When I arrived, the whole family was happily having dinner. Besides Winnie and her family, there was my brother Simon and his girlfriend. They were toasting each other, clearly celebrating something, but the warmth of the scene was shattered by my arrival. The dining room fell silent. Everyone's smiles faded awkwardly, and they put down their glasses. Only my mother laughed nervously and pretended to be affectionate as she pulled me to join them. I thought you were busy, so we didn't call you, but it turns out you're in luck. Come sit down and eat with us. However, her words, no matter how warm, couldn't mask the formality and distance in her actions. Suddenly, I felt like stirring things up. Uncharacteristically, I turned and gently grasped the hand that was feebly holding my arm. Mom, I'm sick. My mother's hand stiffened, and she let me hold it as she stiffly replied, if you're sick, you should eat more. Eating well cures everything. She said this dismissively, without even asking what was wrong, and took her hand away under the pretext of moving a chair. Simon frowned. Lucy, did you come back just to bring bad luck? Every time there's something happy happening in the family, you spoil it. Today, sister got a spot for an international tour. Don't tell me you did this on purpose. I ignored his comments and sat down on the chair my mother had pulled out for me. I have leukemia. Simon, shut up. My mother's hand trembled as she passed me the chopsticks, and they fell to the floor. You could hear a pin drop in the dining room. My mother's eyes reddened as she stood beside me, wiping away tears. Finally, my usually silent father spoke up. We need to let your in-laws know about this. They can afford the medical expenses. He glanced at me disapprovingly. Stay calm in situations like this, don't rush into things, and don't scare your mother into a hypertension flare-up. My mother wiped her face and started serving me food. Your father's right, let's eat first and then discuss everything else. Winnie also served me food, smiling like a cheerful little girl. Indeed, it's your overthinking that makes you prone to illness. Eat more, laugh more, and everything will be fine. I didn't touch my chopsticks. My gaze swept over each person at the table. I didn't come back to borrow money for medical treatment. I just want to ask if my sister could donate her bone marrow to me. The dining room fell silent again. After a long pause, my father slammed his chopsticks down on the table forcefully. Nonsense. He furrowed his eyebrows tightly. Don't you know that donating bone marrow has risks? I gave a bitter smile. Isn't taking a small risk to save my life worth it? My father stubbornly turned his face away. We can't let your sister take that risk. Even a 1% risk. If it happens to her, it's 100%. I wasn't surprised by my father's response. Being the second child who was fostered out from a young age, my father neither welcomed my birth nor my return. Fortunately, my mother and sister were somewhat kind to me. I turned my gaze towards my mother. She was already crying. I looked at her hopefully, thinking we might break past our previous estrangement, hoping she might embrace me as she usually does with my sister, considering my illness. But through her tears, she uttered even more merciless words. Child, life and death are predestined. However reluctant, you must accept your fate, she said, covering her chest, her voice filled with sorrow. Just because you're sick, you want to drag your sister down with you, if I were to lose both my daughters, how could I go on? At that moment, I fully realized that my mother wasn't afraid of losing both daughters, she was just afraid of losing my sister. I lost interest and turned my gaze towards Winnie, the person directly involved. Since I was brought back home, Winnie had been quite kind to me, although she often spoke in a pompous manner. Perhaps that was due to being coddled. At least she would speak up and scold Simon when he bullied me. So I still harbored a sliver of hope. However, Winnie's demeanor had changed completely. She glared at me with anger in her eyes. "Lucy, you're doing this on purpose," she exclaimed, standing up as if she had been holding back for a long time. "There are things I've wanted to say for a while. You've always felt that our parents mistreated you by sending you away, so since you've been back, you've kept a dark expression and seemed eager to make everyone uncomfortable. You act so timid, as if you've suffered greatly outside. But don't think we don't know. You just want to make our parents feel guilty," she continued, her chest heaving with emotion. She paused for a moment to suppress her sobs before continuing. "But there's a limit to everything. We've tolerated the small things, but now with something as big as a bone marrow donation, you speak of it so lightly. Are you trying to put our parents in a difficult position? If they refuse to donate, you'll bite back, making them bear the stigma of being cruel and heartless. If they agree, they face the risk of losing both daughters. How can you be so malicious, always wanting to see us suffer?" Winnie said as she reached out and hugged our mother. After hearing her words, my mother finally cried out in distress. "Stop talking, it's all your father's fault. He insisted on having both a son and a daughter, otherwise," she didn't finish her sentence, but everyone knew she meant to say, "otherwise I wouldn't have been born." Simon also stood up, flanking my mother on both sides, their eyes filled with identical resentment towards me. Winnie lifted her head with a righteous expression. "Lucy, I won't give you the chance to hurt our parents. I'm telling you now, I won't donate my bone marrow to you." She proudly stood by our mother. "This has nothing to do with Mom and Dad. When this gets out, please don't say they were heartless or devoid of loyalty. It was my own selfishness. I was afraid of how heartbroken Mom would be if she lost both her daughters. I made the decision myself not to donate. I'll take the blame." Winnie's expression was as firm as if she was bravely facing a sacrifice. I fiddled with the lab report in my pocket and couldn't help but chuckle. After a moment, I stared at Winnie and asked slowly, "Are you sure you won't donate no matter what?" Winnie gently wiped away her mother's tears, her gaze now even more martyr-like. "I will never donate," she said. "If you need to blame someone, blame me, not our parents. I'm planning for a child and I can't sacrifice my child's life for yours." I laughed through tears, looking at her with sympathy. Then softly I said, "Exactly, how well put. You can't kill your own child to save someone else." Winnie, confused, bowed her head to comfort our mother. Meanwhile, Mom was crying so hard she could barely breathe. She nestled between her two children, looking as if she was the one abandoned with leukemia. She weakly clutched at her chest. "It's all your fault, old one. You insisted on having both a son and a daughter." Dad, annoyed by the accusations, suddenly slammed the table and stood up. He walked over to me, pulling out a large red envelope from his pocket. He tossed it in front of me as if giving alms. With a smack, "Real or fake sickness, take this money and get lost. If you upset your mother to the point of harm, don't blame me for disowning you." The red envelope was beautifully packaged, clearly prepared with care. I picked it up and saw the elegant handwriting on it. "Wishing my dear daughter a successful performance. Have fun." I laughed sarcastically and asked, "Giving me this money for my life-saving treatment won't interfere with your daughter's trip abroad, will it?" Dad looked at me with disgust, his tone icy. "Don't play dumb with me. If you can't recognize your own worth and insist on fairness, I won't hesitate to cut ties with you. I never wanted you in the first place, but after you were born, I still made sure you were raised well. You've never lacked food or clothing. You should be grateful and not always cause trouble." He turned his face away, as if making a firm decision. "I've always listened to your mother, tolerated you patiently, but today you were unreasonable first. Don't blame me if I disown you as my daughter from now on." Finally, he issued the eviction order. The restaurant fell silent again. They silently cleared a path for me to leave, everyone watching quietly, waiting for me, the unwanted, to quickly take the charity and leave. In that moment, everything became clear. No matter how lowly, I could never truly be a part of this family, and frankly, such a family, I could well do without. So, when I looked up again, I discarded my previous cautiousness. I calmly weighed the red envelope in my hand and slowly stood up. In my high heels, I was as tall as my father. I was no longer the little girl who eagerly awaited seeing him once a month. I looked him straight in the eye and asked quietly, "Since you repeatedly said you didn't want to have me, why was I born? Was it because you couldn't control yourself? Or am I someone else's child?" Dad's pupils dilated in shock, speechless. His lips trembled, and belatedly, he raised his hand to slap me. I ducked to the side, causing him to stumble slightly. Then, with a nod of my chin toward my mother, I said, "You too, stop with the fake tears already. You only start caring after the fact. Why weren't you more resolute when you didn't want me? Was it because my dad forced himself on you when you conceived me? Couldn't you fight back with your weight of over 200 pounds? Finally, my mother stopped sobbing. She could no longer maintain her usual demeanor of owing me something. Her fingers trembled with rage as she pointed at me. "Damn it, I gave birth to all of you. How can there be such a difference?" Seeing her beloved mother insulted, Winnie burst into tears and threw herself into her mother's arms. Simon seemed like he wanted to hit me, lunging forward to grab my wrist. Their boyfriends and girlfriends joined in to break up the fight. The restaurant was in chaos. I was pulled around and ended up receiving a solid slap from my dad. My face turned from the blow, and warm blood started trickling from my nose. "Get out," my dad yelled. "From now on, we are done. You are no longer a daughter of the William family." Instinctively, my hand went to my stomach. Thankfully, it was still unharmed. At that moment, I became acutely aware of the strange connection I had already formed with the little life inside me. Since it was something I wanted, I couldn't let it down. So, I looked up and stared him down. "Fine, you said it. I'm no longer a daughter of the William family." Dad glanced at me with disgust and hardened his expression. "Yes, I said it. When Herman spits, it's as solid as a nail," he declared. I wiped my face forcefully. "Fine, from now on, our fates are our own. Whoever asks for help first is the loser." Dad stood stiff-necked, silent, while Winnie cried out, "Whoever asks for help first is a coward. May they be struck by lightning and not die a good death." "Aren't you going to leave yet? Do you want to kill my mother with your presence?" I smiled with satisfaction, pulling out a test result from my pocket and tossing it onto the red envelope. "Good, Winnie, remember your words today. I won't take this money. You might find it useful." Leaving the William family should have made me happy. The dilemma of the afternoon was resolved, and I could finally rest easy knowing I didn't have to abort my child to donate bone marrow. The relatives I had tried to please for years no longer needed my efforts. Yet, as I laughed, tears streamed down my face. I sat at the empty bus station, where everyone else had a bus to take them home, only I couldn't find my way back. Suddenly, messages began appearing in the family group chat of over 60 people on my phone. Opening it, I saw a notice posted by my father. "Unfilial daughter Lucy has insulted her parents and acted disgracefully. She is hereby disowned from the William family. From now on, any borrowing or soliciting of donations done in our name by Lucy is unrelated to us. Please be informed." Reading this message, my blood seemed to freeze. I couldn't bear to think how desperate I would be if I were the one who was sick. Herman was too harsh. Fortunately, it would be him who was backed into a corner with this announcement. The long silent family chat became lively. Everyone was gossiping about what had happened. My great-aunt hinted, "It's hard to manage kids who didn't grow up around you, but it's the father's fault if the child isn't taught well." Saying it's unrelated won't help. My second uncle advised, "Don't be too impulsive. Bones may break, but the tendons are still connected. We are all family. Things will get better once the anger subsides." Seeing that the relatives didn't take the announcement seriously, Simon spoke up. "Lucy is sick, and she insisted on dragging my sister into it, asking her to risk donating bone marrow. She's having a tough time and doesn't want my sister to have it any better." Winnie's words only stirred up more commotion in the group chat. "Isn't it said that the risks of donating bone marrow are quite low? Since the risks are minimal, couldn't she simply want to save a life? Maybe she's not trying to harm your sister or coerce your parents. The kid is pitiful, and if the risks are small, then the donation should still be made." Seeing that the public opinion in the group was getting out of control, Winnie took it upon herself to intervene. "My dear friends and family, we usually shouldn't air our dirty laundry, but my dad shared this announcement because he's worried about you all being deceived. The actual risks involved in bone marrow donation are uncertain. But it's certain that Lucy will approach you for a match. My father is just worried that if you indeed face risks after donating, it would be hard to explain, so he wanted to give you a heads up. Simon chimed in, if she comes to you and something really happens, our family will not be responsible. With that, those who were defending me fell silent. After all, everyone is afraid of being targeted themselves. Then Winnie, always sensible, continued to chat with everyone for a bit. Fearing risks is human nature, and choosing not to donate isn't something to be ashamed of. We all have our elders and children to think about. Honestly, if I were sick, I would never ask this of my relatives. Some people, not wanting to invite trouble, began to agree with Winnie, and with that, my exclusion from the Williams family was implicitly acknowledged. I sat on the bench, unable to help but both laugh and cry as I took screenshots and called Kevin. Honey, I've decided to keep the baby. Come pick me up and take me home. No one probably even looked at the medical report I left in the red envelope. Winnie's social media continues to show peaceful, everyday moments. On Mother's Day, she posted a photo of her accompanying her mother to offer prayers. We are born of our parents' flesh and blood. My mom says the best gift is to take good care of oneself. Later, I received an amulet sent by my mother. It was just an amulet, 3 days before her international tour. She posted a photo of the family seeing her off. A true family only wishes to make each other better, never a burden. Simon liked the post and commented, exactly, 2 days before the international tour, she made a breezy declaration, goodbye to all the troublesome matters and annoying people, sisters flying tomorrow. Below, her family showed their wholehearted support and reluctance. The day before the international tour, Winnie's social media was unusually quiet, but I wasn't surprised. Because that must have been the day she received her medical results. Winnie's dance troupe had their medical checkups at our facility before the tour. Thanks to my mentor, who specializes in treating leukemia, I knew her results in advance, and coincidentally, we had just joined the bone marrow registry, so, quite serendipitously, I was the first to know about the successful match. Winnie came to see us before leaving work. She and Simon cornered my mentor at his office door. Doctor, there must be a mistake with these results. Winnie looked anxious but spoke with calm certainty. What you don't know is that I recently had a fallout with Lucy, who works in your department. She must be upset that I refused to donate bone marrow to her, so she secretly altered my results. As soon as she finished, everyone in the office turned in surprise. This only made Winnie more convinced. So doctor, could you please correct the results for me? Our dance troupe urgently needs this health certificate, and I have a flight abroad tonight. My mentor adjusted his glasses. He pondered for a moment and chose the gentlest approach. Such an important test result wouldn't be mistaken by the hospital. Simon didn't let him finish, bursting out angrily. If you can't make mistakes, then why tolerate Lucy tampering with the results? You better give me a satisfactory explanation, or I'll sue your department too. When I walked in, I stumbled right into this scene. Simon rushed over and shoved me, causing the mentor to abruptly stand up, remove his glasses, and forcefully push Simon aside. Call security, he said, his expression turning stern. Winnie forced a placating smile. Doctor, my brother is just too upset. Please, could you change the results for me? We won't hold Lucy accountable. That's fine, I'm just really anxious. My flight is at 11 tonight. The mentor glanced up at me with a frown. Didn't you inform her of the results earlier? I crossed my arms. I left the lab report for them, but it seems like they didn't look at it. Winnie's smile instantly froze. Colleagues gathered around to protect me, gently touching my belly and whispering, after how they've treated you, you're still conflicted about donating bone marrow to them. You must be a saint reincarnated. Why should you sacrifice your own flesh and blood to save such heartless people? Hearing this, Winnie staggered back and collapsed onto a chair. Meanwhile, Simon continued to rage aimlessly. Great, Lucy, now you've even got your colleagues in on deceiving us. Just wait, your whole department is finished, every last one of you will pay. His threats were ignored by everyone in the department, because blood started dripping from Winnie's nose. 1 drop, 2 drops, silently staining her pristine white skirt. Winnie panicked completely. Tears welled up uncontrollably as she hurriedly covered her nose and tried to hide the blood stains on her dress. She looked up at me, frightened and angry. "It must be you, you're behind this." No one responded. The looks of sympathy were evident in everyone's eyes as they watched her. That's when she broke down, tears streaming down her face. Eventually, security had to drag her out of the office. Winnie didn't go on her international tour. Her family rushed her everywhere for urgent tests. Unsurprisingly, the results were conclusive. They finally found the lab report I had left behind. Belatedly realizing what had been done, the day they found the lab report, my mother called me. As soon as I picked up, her sobbing burst through. "Lucy, you did this on purpose. They always said you were devious and I didn't believe it, but now I finally see it. You provoked us on purpose, wanting us to cut ties with you, because you don't want to save your sister." At that moment, she didn't think saving Winnie was solely up to me. With their financial and human resources, they were confident they could cure her, so she dropped her pretense and scolded me unabashedly. I quietly hung up the phone and blocked her number. Eventually, they reconsidered and chose the most authoritative option. My mentor. We met again at the hospital. Winnie was admitted. Herman, holding the mentor's hand, boldly stated he would spare no expense to cure his daughter. He begged the mentor to prioritize finding a bone marrow donor, slipping him a much larger envelope than the one he had given me. The mentor reluctantly returned the envelope, informing them that there was no suitable bone marrow available yet and they could only proceed with conservative treatment. He then suggested organizing friends and relatives willing to donate bone marrow to see if a match could be found. Herman eagerly rolled up his sleeve. "Test me, she's my daughter, it must be a match, I'll donate to her." The mentor glanced back at me silently, following his gaze. Herman saw me and uncomfortably pressed his fist to his lips. I opened the folder and began to read out the potential risks of donating bone marrow. After finishing, I fixed my gaze on Herman. "With all these risks involved in donating bone marrow, do you still want to proceed? Don't you fear that donating will lead to your wife losing two dear family members?" Herman's face turned red. Still, he stubbornly looked away. "Donate," I said sarcastically, curling the corner of my mouth. I shifted my gaze towards Simon and Mom standing behind him. Simon was forthright. "No need for nonsense. I'll donate. I can't help it. I'm just this hypocritical." "You can't compare to my sister when you're with me, you too?" I asked Mom. Tears welled up in Mom's eyes again. It seemed she had calmed down from the urge to scold me that day. She silently wiped her eyes without saying a word. "Child, every mother loves her daughter. If it wasn't for your anger that day, how could I have?" I scoffed, cutting her off. "Just tell me if you'll check or not, so I can arrange the medical examination." Mom choked up and shyly lowered her head. "Donate." "Do you agree to Simon donating too?" Mom clutched her chest, her voice trembling. "Agree. Aren't you afraid now of the risk being too high, losing both your children?" Mom covered her face with her hands, tears silently streaming through her fingers. When I collected my thoughts and returned to the office, my mentor had already returned. As I entered, several colleagues immediately surrounded me. Yogurt, nuts, and snacks quickly piled up on my desk. "Lucy, keep your spirits up so the baby stays healthy." "Yes, ignore the nasty people and things so you can have a beautiful baby." "Lucy, a hug. We always love you." My eyes moistened. The gloom that had built up in the hospital room now largely dissipated. My mentor walked over and dropped a stack of documents on my desk. "Don't just eat, work more, so you don't struggle with natural birth later." The office instantly hushed, lightening the atmosphere. The results of the William family's tests were first known by my colleague. She murmured, "It's really karma, not a single successful match." Unconvinced by the result, the William family sought a recheck at another hospital. When the recheck results came out, we ran into each other again in the elevator. Mom, who usually lived a life of luxury, seemed to have aged 10 years. Her shoulders slumped, her eyes sunken. Seeing me enter the elevator, her eyes suddenly brightened. She hesitated for a moment, then mustered the courage to speak to me. "Lucy." I didn't respond. "Lucy, how have you been lately?" I turned around. "What do you really want to say?" Mom couldn't hold back any longer. Her lips quivered and tears streamed down. "Lucy, you're a doctor. What can we do about your sister's illness?" I thought for a moment and smiled gently at her. Not just Mom. The eyes of all three members of the William family in the elevator sparkled with excitement. Mom, overjoyed, reached out to grab my hand. "You're willing to donate to your sister?" I gently brushed her hand away and handed over the takeout box I was holding. "Here, Take this, let your daughter eat more. Didn't you once say that being full cures any illness? Mom's smile froze on her face, her complexion instantly turning crimson. Simon, swearing, moved to hit me but was held back by Herman, as the elevator doors opened. I walked out without looking back. I'm curious. To what extent will the William family go for Winnie? However, their actions ultimately reshaped my understanding. That evening, Herman withdrew the initial announcement in the family group chat. This made me realize more clearly that the William family does not favor sons over daughters. It was just me, caught in between their son and daughter, whom they disliked. Immediately after Herman withdrew the announcement, someone started a conversation. How about it? Has Oldwin cooled down? It's only been a few days and the disownment announcement was withdrawn. Yeah, what big grudge can there be among family members? It's good as long as things are cleared up. Herman responded with a few embarrassed emojis and did not deny the teasing from everyone. Then he spoke up. I didn't ask for details. I was a bit impulsive. Donating bone marrow isn't risky. It's just like drawing blood. How bad could drawing a couple of tubes of blood be? I heard it's even beneficial for health. No one responded to that. A moment later, the second aunt sent 3 big question marks. You were the one who said there were big risks and wanted to sever ties, and now you're saying it's beneficial for health. Herman, are you twisting the truth based on whatever you say? Go on. What announcement do you want to make to us this time? The eldest aunt was enjoying the drama and not shy about stirring things up. Yeah, Herman, you're not feeling pity for the kids now. Trying to persuade us to donate marrow, are you? You were the one loudly claiming it was risky and your family wouldn't be responsible, and now we dare not donate. Herman didn't respond for a long while, seeing that the solo act couldn't continue. My mother, who rarely spoke in the group, also came to support. We all went to the hospital for tests a few days ago. There really is no risk. We just had 2 tubes of blood drawn, and my son-in-law gave us big red envelopes, saying he'd transfer the property under his name to whoever matches successfully. With the huge incentive mentioned, the chat finally became lively. Are Lucy's in-laws really that well off, giving away a house just like that? Well, getting carried away in the moment can be understood, but who would really have the nerve to ask him for the house? After the eldest aunt finished speaking, others chimed in agreement. Clearly, they wanted Herman to give a guarantee. Seeing hope, my mother finally became anxious. Why not give it? Of course, we'll give it. You all know our son-in-law's family isn't short of money. I'll make him write a guarantee. Herman echoed. Absolutely. Let the son-in-law write a guarantee. As long as someone matches successfully, my word is as good as gold. Perhaps Herman forgot I was still in the group. Or maybe he thought I wouldn't expose him. But watching my husband, who was working overtime in the study, I silently drafted a statement in the group. After all, the house my husband worked hard to earn shouldn't be coveted by others. Statement content. I, Lucy, am not the one with leukemia, nor is it me who needs a bone marrow match, so my husband's house is not promised to anyone. Additionally, I have indeed severed parental ties with the William family. Whatever Herman is trying to persuade you to do about donating marrow, make sure you investigate properly. Any consequences of donating marrow are not my responsibility. Lucy, the group exploded once again. The younger relatives, who got wind of the real situation, started speaking up. Uncle Herman, what's going on? It's Winnie who is sick. Why did you say it was Lucy? Uncle Herman, isn't this favoritism? Initially, you severed ties thinking Lucy was sick, and now you're tricking us into donating marrow finding out it's Winnie. No way, Uncle Herman. Isn't this blatant favoritism? Who would dare donate to your family with this kind of behavior? Finally, the eldest uncle spoke up. Herman, this isn't right. We're all relatives. Do you really need to deceive us like this? It's not about the house, but your way of handling things really doesn't inspire anyone to step forward. Seeing things go awry, Winnie finally lost her composure. She sent a long voice message. In the voice message, she tearfully pleaded with the relatives, saying she could also offer a house, and she would forever be grateful for the life-saving help. However, everyone knew that she and her husband had a prenuptial agreement, and she couldn't actually offer this house, and Herman, having recently bought a house for Simon, couldn't offer any additional property either. Then someone posted a screenshot. The text on the screen was exactly what Winnie had said in our previous conversation. Being afraid of risks is natural. It's not shameful for people not to donate. Everyone has their own families to care for. Honestly, if I were the one ill, I would never ask this of my loved ones. The chat group fell silent. That last message just sat there, glaringly bright, like a huge slap across Winnie's face. Although Herman's close relatives were initially reluctant, eventually, a few of them came forward to undergo testing, his uncles and some older brothers. But in the end, none were a match. Finally, it was my turn. They approached me. There, in Winnie's hospital room, I was pulled in, and the large private room was already set up with several cameras. My mother kneeled down to me as soon as I entered. "Lucy, please save your sister, you're the only match. Why won't you help her?" I looked around and recognized a few well-known streaming accounts. They were broadcasting live. When my colleague rushed over with a solemn look and showed me her phone, the live stream was already crowded with many viewers. The woman must have a heart of stone. How could she not save her own sister? Yeah, and she's supposed to be a white angel. If she won't even save her own family, how can we expect her to save others? Which hospital does this doctor work for? Let's make sure to avoid it. My heart turned ice cold. I put away the phone and looked at my mother coldly. So, by not donating, I'm ruining everything, am I? One is sick, and you want to destroy another. Aren't you afraid of losing both daughters at once? My mother's face turned visibly red with embarrassment as she lowered her eyes, but when she caught a glimpse of Winnie on the hospital bed from the corner of her eye, her gaze hardened with a mother's fierce determination. It was a sense of security from my mother that I had never felt before. My mother, desperate, began to bang her head against the floor forcefully, over and over. "Lucy, please, for all the love of raising you, save your sister. It's just a bone marrow donation. There's no risk. Why won't you agree? Mom knows you're jealous of your sister, feeling she's better than you in everything, but you can't be confused when it comes to life and death. Mom is thinking of you too. If something happens to your sister, you'll spend the rest of your life in guilt." Her heart-wrenching plea caused the number of viewers in the live stream to skyrocket by tens of thousands. The mother is kowtowing to her. And she's still indifferent. Yeah, bone marrow donation is not risky at all. Why make it difficult for her own family? Her mother must be speaking the truth. She's just trying to prevent her daughter from feeling guilty later, willing to kowtow to save both daughters. I'm literally crying over this, seeing my indifference. My mother came over on her knees and hugged my legs. "Lucy, if you're upset that I've cared more for your sister, I apologize. It's my fault. Don't take it out on your sister. If you just agree to save your sister, Mom would rather die as long as you sisters live in harmony and you live without guilt." Simon, who had been standing stiffly to one side, finally knelt down with some dignity as he saw what Mom did. He knelt straight. I burst out laughing. "Weren't you about to hit me in the elevator? What's this all about?" Simon's chest heaved violently. His face turning the color of liver, he glared at me furiously, as if he wanted to tear me apart. Then he banged his head straight down onto the floor. The floor thudded loudly, clearly a hard hit. The live stream erupted into a frenzy of abuse. This female doctor is a cold-blooded animal. Is she trying to kill her mother and drive her brother insane? We've identified her. This doctor is from such and such hospital. Let's block her. Those who are nearby go first. I'll follow shortly. My colleague tugged anxiously at my sleeve, but I glanced at her reassuringly to signal her not to panic. The live stream only had about 100,000 viewers, far from enough. The William family also realized this, and finally, it was Herman's turn. He seemed to be suffering from a flare-up of gout, limping over to me, with tears streaming down his face. He looked at me with a fatherly glow that made the hairs on my body stand on end. I had never seen such a look in his eyes, not even when he sent me away. I rubbed my arms and disgustingly turned away. "If you're going to kneel, just kneel. Spare me the disgusting talk." Herman choked up, his mouth half open, but in the end, he said nothing and just knelt down heavily on the ground. The live stream went wild. Oh my God, that kneel really hurt me. This father has moved me to tears. Damn it, I don't want to see that woman. I'd slap her hard if I did. Crowdfunding. Slap that heartless female doctor. The anger of the crowd reached a boiling point. At that moment, Winnie, with tears streaming down her face like raindrops on pear blossoms, got out of the hospital bed. She stumbled and threw herself next to her mother. "Mom, don't beg her. Mom, I'd rather die than see you so humiliated." She cried her heart out. "Mom, Please, stand up, I can't bear to see you like this. She tried to pull her mother up, then turned to pull Herman and Simon, unable to move anyone. The family ended up kneeling and crying together on the ground. Is it just about donating bone marrow? Take mine. Where can I donate? I'll check mine too. The first batch of SLAP squad has arrived at the hospital. Damn, today this female doctor is going to get it. The number of viewers in the live stream reached a new high. People crowded the entrance of the hospital room. And even the hospital leaders rushed over. Gradually, Mom stopped crying. She came over to pull my hand, her eyes filled with a resolute sense of victory. Lucy, there are no unsolvable issues within a family. Listen to me, I've already spoken to the hospital leaders. They won't make it hard for you. Don't worry about donating. I've already spoken to your father. He'll take back what he said about disowning you. She looked at me deeply. We all are flesh from the same body. Which mother doesn't feel pain for her children? Lucy, after you donate the bone marrow, let me cook something nice for you to nourish you. I too looked closely at my mother, the eyebrows and eyes similar to mine, the warm palms, the loving gaze. Once, that was a presence I longed for even in my dreams, but at this moment, I only felt nauseous. I coldly shook off her hand and signaled towards the door. The crowd at the door parted, and the supervisor walked in with the hospital leaders. The leaders are here. Fire this cold-hearted person. Fire her. Fire her. Fire her. The chat in the live stream was flooded with calls for my firing. Mom hypocritically bowed to the leaders. Leaders, please don't fire my daughter. She'll donate. I've already persuaded her. She agreed to donate. Colleagues laughed at her antics. Even the usually meticulous supervisor showed an incredulous expression. I gave him a helpless look, then casually pulled out my phone. Who said I was going to donate? At my words, Mom froze. The live stream went silent. She never changes. Even the leaders can't persuade her. It's time for us, the forces of justice, to take action. Charge, my sisters, gather at the entrance of the hospital. I pulled up a video on my phone and then clicked to cast it on the screen. Then I confidently walked over, straightened my collar in front of the camera. Since everyone wants to see, I'll give you something good to watch. Remember, my name is Lucy. The second child in this family obsessed with having a son. I was sent away for foster care at the age of 4, and wasn't brought back home until the aunt who raised me died when I was 17. As for why I refused to donate bone marrow, please watch this VCR. As soon as I finished speaking, the Williams family sensed something was amiss. Simon reacted the fastest and tried to snatch my phone, but he was restrained by the security guards maintaining order. Mom's face was ashen as she frantically shook Herman's arm. It's all your fault. This wouldn't have happened if it weren't for you. I turned around, the hospital's leadership nodded, and I pressed the play button. The hundreds of thousands of people in the live broadcast quieted down. The ward and its surroundings fell silent. It was deathly quiet, with only the scene from the day I returned home playing on the TV. It was captured by the camera in the kitchen, showing the entire dining room clearly. I told Mom I was sick. She told me to eat more while adding food to my plate. I said leukemia. She said that eating well cures everything. I asked if my sister could donate bone marrow, and Herman slammed his chopsticks down on the table forcefully. The live comments exploded once again. What the hell did I just see? Major plot twist. I knew something was off. Why would someone refuse to donate without a good reason? This family is so hypocritical. It's infuriating. The video continued. Winnie cheerfully said I was overthinking, and that laughing more would cure any illness. Now it's her turn to be sick. Why isn't she laughing it off? Just laugh it off. Why the hell are you hospitalized, you hypocrite? In the video, Dad slammed a big red envelope in front of me. He slapped me and declared that Herman's word was law and that he was severing parental ties with me. I grinned through clenched teeth. Whoever asks for help is the loser. This old man is really swinging to kill, isn't he? He claims his word is law, so why is he kneeling now? What a loser. I almost fell for his teary act. This damn old man is so biased it's infuriating. Finally, it was Winnie's turn to speak. Anyone who seeks help is scum. May thunder strike them dead. My God, she looks so gentle. How could she be so vicious? May thunder strike. May they never have peace. Karma hits fast, doesn't it? Isn't it ironic she refused to ask for help because she cursed herself? Instant karma, so satisfying. The video continued. but only showed what happened after I left. The lab report, placed on top of the red envelope, was ignored by everyone. Simon, as if throwing away something filthy, brushed it aside and handed the red envelope to Winnie. Here's your going abroad red envelope. Have fun and don't let her ruin your mood. Come on, let's continue eating. The mood killer is gone. Although the atmosphere at the table wasn't as lively as before, dinner still continued. Mom, though wiping away tears, still served food to her children. She was even worried about Winnie eating well abroad. At the table, only an outsider put down their utensils. Outside the ward, murmurs began to filter into Herman's ears. Herman picked up a chair and threw it at the TV. The wall-mounted TV crashed to the ground. The image fizzling out, the cursing outside grew louder with his action. A family with hearts of snakes, you deserve to be sick, serves you right. Who said asking for help is for losers? Call the old man, grandpa, and see, what era is this to still have such blatant favoritism? If you don't want them, don't have them. Breeding pigs who can't nurture. No one would donate in your place. Girl, don't donate to them. Treat them as they treated you. Mom's face turned ghostly white. She clung to Winnie, retreating repeatedly. Lucy, please close the door. Stop filming. Get out. I watched coldly. How come it's not okay when you're the one being filmed, the one being insulted? What about when you were inciting them to insult me? I call you mother, so please teach me, what does it mean to not impose on others what you would not desire for yourself? Mom stumbled back against the bed and fell seated. Herman and Simon were restrained by security. The messages on the live comments continued to roll rapidly. Change of attack target at the hospital entrance. Damn, played by those two old folks like a monkey. Let them see today that monkeys are not easy to play with. I took an ultrasound report from my mentor and pointed it at the camera. It was proof of my pregnancy. The proof clearly appeared on the screen. Since there are many people here today, please bear witness. I am currently 10 weeks pregnant. I asked my mentor earlier, and if I were to donate bone marrow, it's highly likely that I would need to terminate the pregnancy. Winnie's life matters, and so does my child's. But to be honest, I've really struggled between these two lives, unsure whether to donate or not. Before I could finish, my mother, as if hearing some hope, rushed over. Lucy, I knew you couldn't be so heartless. So you were pregnant. Listen to your mother. You can have another child, but a dead person cannot be brought back to life. The curses in the live comments weren't as fast as those on the spot. Damn, shut up. Another child isn't the same one. Shameless. Why should someone else's child be sacrificed for your own daughter? If not for the security holding them back, those people would have charged in to attack. I pushed my mother away and continued, they are right. I also realized later that having another child isn't the same as the one I asked for. I have no right to just kill him, so I cannot donate the bone marrow. Clarifying everything at once was to prevent the Williams family from troubling the hospital leadership again. It was also to sway public opinion to my side. After all was said, the leader also made his stance clear. He said if the Williams family troubled him again, he wouldn't hesitate to expel them from the hospital. The matter came to an end, and the Williams family completely lost hope, but I still underestimated their love for Winnie. As I was being escorted out by colleagues, my mother suddenly knelt down towards the camera. This time, she banged her head on the ground with all her might. Please, it's all our fault, the fault of us two old fools. Please donate bone marrow to my daughter, please. At that moment, a screenshot from a family group chat suddenly appeared online. In the screenshot, Winnie's statement was bolded and prominently highlighted. If I were the one sick, I would never beg my relatives. We're not responsible if there are risks in donating bone marrow. With such statements, not only were there curses, but not a single matching donor appeared. Even though the Williams family offered a reward after selling their house, it attracted no one. After the live broadcast incident, Herman and Simon encountered the angry netizens they had summoned at the hospital entrance. The punches meant for me all landed on them instead. After that, Winnie's condition progressed rapidly. To protect me, the department transferred me to another ward. My husband was worried and hoped I would take a break from work, fearing retaliation from the Williams family. But before any retaliation came, it was my mother who showed up. She came at night, standing outside in the freezing snow, holding a thermal lunchbox waiting for me. My husband let her in. Apart from a visit when I was newly married, this was her first time at my house. She looked around, her eyes gradually moistening. She opened the lunchbox, arranging it layer by layer. Sweet and sour pork ribs, she said, wiping her eyes. Your favorite when you were little. I felt a tightness in my chest. A 4-year-old child supposedly doesn't have profound memories, but I will never forget the day I was sent away. I was eating the sweet and sour pork ribs she made. My mother, who rarely smiled at me, fed me the pork ribs with a gentle smile that day. She even said they were specially made for me, but before I could finish one piece, Herman came in with a stern face, hurriedly saying the car was waiting, and without further ado, picked me up from the dining table. That day I cried bitterly, the half-eaten piece of pork rib falling to the ground. Since then, I never liked sweet and sour pork ribs again. My mother, sobbing, handed me a piece of rib. Lucy, Mom is sorry. Mom knows you resent me, but how could I not be in pain? In that family that valued males over females, Mom was helpless too, you know. Since you left, Mom never made sweet and sour pork ribs again. The sweet and sour scent wafted into my nostrils, instantly transporting me back to the cold winter of my 4th year. I felt as helpless as if I were drowning, tears streaming down my face. My mother, trembling, came to wipe my tears. Lucy, I admit I've been biased. I've taken care of Winnie for over 20 years and only 4 years for you. I unconsciously treated her a bit better, but Lucy, it's my fault. Please don't punish Winnie, okay? Considering that I've raised you for 4 years, please donate your bone marrow to her. I realize my mistake, and I will make it up to you in the future. The person in front of me, I remembered her embrace. I longed for her care. I could never be as heartless to her as she was to me. It's like I was possessed. I thought, if Winnie could survive until I gave birth, would I then consider donating? I ended up not eating the sweet and sour pork ribs that day. I truly am a person with a dark heart. I think I wouldn't want to donate my bone marrow even after having my child, but perhaps my mother conveyed some wrong message to Winnie. When Winnie tried to hit my belly, she was screaming about wanting to kill my child. I was prepared and easily dodged her attack. The medical staff quickly surrounded her. She seemed mentally unstable, and failing to harm my child, she simply knelt on the ground and threw a tantrum. If I can't kill your child, then I beg you, what are you begging for? That I won't be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Ha ha ha, I was doomed to a bad end anyway. With that, she started crying again. Please, Lucy, I beg you, abort your child and donate the bone marrow to me, please. After that day, Winnie was expelled from the hospital. She didn't live to see my child born, and I no longer had to agonize over whether to donate or not. After that, I never had any contact with William's family again. They were severely cyberbullied and had moved far away. We met again 4 years later. I took my daughter back to my aunt's old home to pay respects at her grave and saw someone from a distance in the cemetery. My mother had aged dramatically, her entire demeanor spiritless. She looked at my daughter and seemed bewildered, watching her. She started to cry. Lucy, is that you? The sweet and sour pork ribs I made are still warm for you. What? You're sick? Ah, I'll donate. My daughter, scared, hid behind me. I picked her up and silently walked past her. Later, my daughter asked me, Mom, will you give me a little brother? I shook my head firmly. No, I will never let my daughter experience even a bit of favoritism. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.